What's up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined today by Daniel Starkand. And we warned you about this. If you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, we let you know that Andrew Heaney was a guy that the Dodgers were sniffing around on. Well, reports came today from Ken Rosenthal that he has signed a contract with the Dodgers, one-year deal worth upwards of $8 million. This is a guy, again, who was part of a trade that brought the Dodgers Kike Hernandez and Austin Barnes, among others, and then was immediately shipped out for Howie Kendrick a long time ago. But he is back with the Dodgers. Daniel, what are you hearing, and what are your immediate reactions to left-handed pitching, Andrew Heaney coming to the Dodgers?
Yes, the reunion we've all been waiting for, right? Honestly, I'm pretty surprised just at the fact that the Dodgers made a move this quickly. Like, we're
Yeah.
sitting here on November 8th. Usually things don't get going to the winter meetings, and when guys reject qualifying offers, like, more talks happen, but the Dodgers kind of just struck right away on Heaney, which is kind of interesting because if you look in the numbers, and we're about to get into them,
Yeah.
they're not great. He was really bad last year. Started with the Angels, got traded to the Yankees at the deadline. Did not help them out a whole lot. But it's interesting because I saw Mark Feinstein, who's an MLB insider. He just tweeted that Heaney had at least a dozen teams interested in him before signing with the Dodgers. And just the fact that the Dodgers were willing to sign him shows that they obviously see something in him. I don't know exactly what. I know he had a high strikeout rate, but other than that, the numbers are not great at all. But we've seen in the past, they see guys
Yeah.
that they could unlock something with or make a few tweaks here and there, and they turn them into really good pitchers. So I guess they see that with Heaney. I don't know where he's going to fit in. Like, he's been a starter his whole career. I know the Dodgers, at least the fans want the Dodgers to bring back Kershaw and Scherzer, which would pretty much fill out their rotation. So I don't know if this means that those things are more unlikely to happen. Like, they're bringing in a starter who's obviously nowhere near the quality of those two guys. But, if anything, it's just a guy who could give you innings, give you some depth. It wasn't too expensive. I'd say, $8 million for a guy who's a fourth or fifth starter. That's pretty much market value right there. So I don't think they overpaid by any means. But I'm just kind of a little puzzled why they wanted Heaney so bad, and B, like, why they felt the need to make a move
So
this
to,
early
to
in the
mention some
offseason.
of the statistics, to clarify that one. So last year he had a 5.83 ERA. That was across 23 starts and 7 relief appearances between the Angels and Yankees, I believe, was where he spent his time last year. For his career, it is a 4.72 ERA. But what's interesting about Heaney is he is a guy that I have heard on Twitter for the last few weeks, just rumblings of, like, if there's a guy that you want to kind of buy low and that might have some fixable traits to him, Andrew Heaney's kind of a name to watch. And sure enough, the Dodgers go out and sign him, which kind of confirms that. Now, you might be thinking, does this ever work? Well, the answer is sort of yes. Robbie Ray last year signed a deal similar to this. Kevin Gossman is a guy who has gone through a transformation similar to this. And so what are people looking at? So fielding independent pitching is a metric that predicts what your ERA should be with sort of baseline luck. What's fascinating with Heaney is that his ERA has been higher than his FIP basically every season for the past 4 seasons, meaning he's either the most unlucky guy in the world for 4 straight years, or he does something that this metric doesn't necessarily love. So that's interesting. You look at his StatCast page, it's not great. I mean, average exit velocity in the 36th percentile, his expected ERA, 53rd percentile, so screams average. The numbers that you like, 72nd percentile in strikeout percentage, 66th percentile in whiff percentage, 65th percentage in walk percentage. So those are all numbers that are above average. So I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, Andrew Heaney is the answer. I'll say 2 things. One, people a lot smarter than me seem to think that there's something in this guy with the way that he throws the baseball that can be unlocked. And maybe that's unlocked to an average, like high 3s, low 4s ERA type guy. Maybe that's unlocked to something even better than that. Nobody's here saying, hey, this guy's going to be as good as Gossman or this guy's going to be as good as Robbie Ray. But just that, he's got the pedigree, former first-round pick, I believe. So interesting to note there. The flip side, which you mentioned the word depth, I think that's the headline. We just came out of a postseason in which the Dodgers literally ran out of starting pitching. So while I know when we posted our video saying
Yeah.
they were mentioned, everyone in the comments like, screw this guy, we don't want anything, he sucks. Here's the thing. It's a live body who can get you 20 to 30 starts if you give him that many opportunities. He'll throw 5 innings every time he goes out there, and he'll be, at the very least, he'll be decent, and he might be better if the Dodgers think they can unlock something. So this is not a instead of some other move. I can't imagine. Like, I don't think they were deciding between Max Scherzer or Andrew Heaney. I think this is a guy they say, hey, look, lock him up. Take the depth piece. We don't know what Dustin May's availability is going to be at any point next year. Julio and Walker just came off the most busy season of their careers. Even if Kershaw is back, we don't know what his arm is. If we bring Scherzer back, he's going to be 38 years old. There's a lot of mysteries there. And so I think they just said, let's go sign this guy 1 year's $8 million and just take the sure thing sitting in front of us and hope that we can unlock something.
Yeah, and I guess the reaction to this move will be determined by, what future moves the Dodgers make. Like you said, like if this is just adding a depth piece, then I think that's awesome. Like I definitely think that's something that's necessary. Like you just said, we saw how they ended the postseason with basically no healthy starters. They're playing 162 games again next year unless the CBA changes something, which we saw this year was a big adjustment coming off a 60-game season and considering so many guys missed time throughout the course of this year, I would expect kind of more of the same next year. Probably not as bad, but I also don't, think you could just count on having 5 starters that are going to remain healthy the whole year, give you 30 starts each. You can't really count on that. And I just think the Dodgers were kind of just fed up with having 2 bullpen games a week for a majority of the season. That really wore down their arms. So if this is just a depth signing, then I love it. If it's in place of, Kershaw and Scherzer or whatever, and they're counting on Heaney to be their 3rd or 4th starter, then I hate it. So I guess we're just going to have to see how things play out this summer. I'm with you, though. I'd say this probably doesn't have much of a correlation. Like, I don't think the Dodgers know what they're going to do this winter. I don't think they've had a lot of those conversations yet. But this was just a guy who, I guess, wanted to sign this early. Like, he's probably, one of the only free agents that's going to sign before the new CBA is discussed, but he probably wanted to get that out of the way. He's only signing a 1-year deal. Yeah. It's kind of a prove it type deal. Like if he could come back and have a really good season, then he'll be in a position to make a lot more money next winter. And honestly, if I'm him, there's no better way to do that than to go to the Dodgers, who have done this with so many guys time and time again. So we'll see how it plays out, but I definitely like that it seems like they're prioritizing depth because we know how important that is throughout the course of the season.
I do think we both agree that the Dodgers have a plan for this offseason. The hard part for them is just they don't have control over what Max Scherzer is going to decide to do. They don't have control over what Clayton Kershaw is going to decide to do. And so I think for me the headline is twofold. One is don't grade this move in a vacuum. Wait until you see what happens the rest of the offseason. And secondly, trust the Dodgers, trust the player development setup. Like, trust that when they go out and get the Phil Bickfords of the world, the Rich Hill reclamation projects, like those projects have tended to go fairly well for the Dodgers more often than not. Again, there are smart people around baseball that this is a guy whose name they had circled and said, hey, there's something about this guy that could be unlocked. So stay tuned. So we'll see what if this is the only move we get for the next month, or if this starts sort of a trickle of maybe some moves out. But this was rumored, and now we get confirmation again. 1 year, $8+ million for Andrew Heaney coming to the Dodgers, coming back to the Dodgers, a team that he was on for about 3 hours, never officially introduced.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna guess that his stay with the Dodgers lasts longer this time.
So anyways, let us know in the comments below. Again, we ask, don't grade this one in a vacuum. Wait to see how all of this plays out. But Andrew Heaney, officially a Dodger, the first signing of the offseason for any team, really. Andrew Heaney coming to the Dodgers, 1 year, $8 million. Let us know what you think below. We'll have all the latest updates, Dodger Blue 1958 on social media, DodgerBlue.com. And of course, make sure you're subscribed here, Dodger Blue 1958 on YouTube. Ring the notification bell as well. That's Daniel. My name's Jeff. We'll see you soon.
The best team holding a trophy high in the air. The Los Angeles Dodgers, champions of the baseball world.